Okay, here we are with another episode of the Still Curious podcast. In case you haven't joined this podcast before, this is open-ended conversation about exploring curiosity. It's just about what is that experience for my guest of curiosity, and I'll ask a few questions, and then my guests just kind of go for it, and then we have a conversation about it. I'm curious about what happens when we embrace curiosity in our everyday lives, and what does it actually feel like when we really show up to a conversation, for example, with genuine openness and curiosity, because I think that's super important, just curiosity in general, and where it leads and where the thread takes us. So each episode is going to be different because it's a different guest, and we don't have any prescripted or scripted. My goal is to just make it an open and easy conversation, comfortable and relaxed. I will say, though, the kind of curiosity that I think about most is more of the curiosity that one might have as an explorer. So, for example, there's navigating, which can involve curiosity. And in navigating, when we're seeking information, we're trying to learn something. Very often we have a destination. We are looking for understanding. We are looking for an answer. We're looking for expertise, something like that. So to me, that's more like a navigating type of curiosity, where there's a known destination and maybe even a map in our minds about how we want to get there. And I feel like that's a certain type of curiosity that is different from, say, exploring. Whereas when we're exploring, when we have an exploratory curiosity, we may have a destination. And even if we do, it's less important than the journey itself. And so if we run into obstacles when we're exploring, it actually could open up a new door and a new way of exploring. So it's less frustrating than it might be for somebody who's navigating. We're just encountering things as they come up. And so that's really what I wanted to do with these conversations. To those of you listening, reading, any of these can be found on YouTube and on the Interoceptive Center Substack. Megha, I'm not going to say anything more about you because I could go on and on. I'd love to just invite you to share what you would like to share about who you are.
Colleen, and for those who know me who will watch this, I can talk for hours. So I'm looking forward to this on an open topic. Brilliant. Anyway, I'm Megha. I live in the UK. I'm a mum of two beautiful children. I have a lovely husband. And of course, I'm also a bit of a workaholic. I love making things happen. And a lot of what I made things happen along my journey has been because of the curiosity, because my journey has been quite unique. I started off as a little girl wanting to become a doctor. I'm so curious about how our human, body works internally. And I find that so beautiful in itself. However, I'm dyslexic. And in those days, I was told, you don't have the intelligence to become a doctor. But because I had such a creative mind, and I ended up going into the creative arts and digital design, and that kind of journey took me into teaching. I was teaching in university and diploma courses, and high schools, and then that took me, because I was working in digital, took me to where I am now. The industry I work in, design and construction, has gone through still going through transformation digitally. And everything I've done to be where I am right now, within a large design consultancy, I've often been known as the firefighter, the problem solver, the go-to. I love that because I genuinely love solving problems. And I do believe that it's because I'm always curious about how things work. I love to unpick everything that comes my way completely, whether it is how to bake a cake or how to cook a 7-course meal, or it is project management challenges. How do we resolve this complex delivery of, I don't know, 148 kilometers of overhead lines for an energy project? I apply the same mechanisms of curiosity, unpick it completely, understand it, and then let those ideas come to you. Start brainstorming. Do not preempt, because we do that a lot, because we have so many blueprints in lives, don't we, Colleen? I was just talking to you about it, I think, some time ago. Everything's blueprinted. How to be a mum, how to be the best chef, how to be the best project manager. But hang on a minute. How about I learn and explore and understand through that exploration and truly make this my own? Because that's how unique ideas come about. And that's how, in the past, inventors invented, right?
Absolutely. And I love that you just described that you actually answered a question that was forming in my mind. But let me put it out and see if there's anything else you want to add. I jotted down, so the viewers, I'm always taking notes so I can capture some things. Is I was going to ask you, but I think you answered it already, but see if you want to add more. If you apply the same type of curiosity to work as you do to raising your children to other things in life. And I think you just said yes. It's the
Yes.
same process.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just the way I like to operate. Be curious. I can't take credit for who my kids are, but I've also taught them the same thing. Yes, I remember my daughter. She loves painting, and she said, "Oh, but then trees are meant to be green." But I said, "No, trees can be whatever color you want it to be. It's your painting. Your be curious about these things. Just develop your own thoughts without fully getting influenced by what others have to say, because especially when we're young, you know so little. So let's explore everything with an open mind. And you never know what will pique your interest. And like I was saying, I can't take credit for what they are, but both of them are so full of life and want so much more, and they want more and more. They love, everything they do, they go full into it. And I think that's because they're not going in thinking preemptively, my target is this, meaning, for example, my son plays tennis. There are no targets. He doesn't have to grow up to become a professional tennis player, or he does not have to go into universities with a scholarship with it, whatever it might be. The preset targets of, oh, he's a good tennis player, so maybe this is what he can be doing. No, there are no such preset targets, but something beautiful is coming out of it. He's so dedicated, and it's all transferable skills for things that will help him as he grows up. And it's the same with Rosa. She loves climbing, and now she just does gymnastics, and she's more structured in the way that she says, I want to become a synchronized swimmer for GB. My thing is keep exploring what that means, meaning keep developing whatever you think the skills are. And be curious about, how does that person do it then? How does this person do it? What does it look like to become a GB swimmer? Rather than thinking, okay, I just need to get there. Find your way. And they're two separate ways of doing things, right? One, like you were saying, there is actually, Rosa really has something in her mind. She wants this goal. Whereas my son, he just loves playing tennis. He just loves tennis. So, yeah, and both are okay.
I'm just going to push back a little bit on when you said I can't take the credit for my children are, because of course you can take some credit, but we don't have to debate that now. They have the same spark that you have, right? You foster that. So, and curiosity, and I love that. I would love to take this in a slightly different direction because there's something that's pinging in my mind. Do you have a sense that having dyslexia has opened you up to something that wouldn't have been opened up to you? Like, does it foster curiosity even?
Absolutely. I mean, I talk a lot about neurodiversity in general, but dyslexics and I have a very neurodiverse family. I lovingly say we're a madhouse, but that's only because we all are very differently abled. I like to say, it's not a disability, it's just a different way of thinking. But however, with dyslexia, how I've spoken about this in the past is, if you're not able to see, so if you're blind, your other senses develop to be more enhanced, right? And that is, again, scientific, not what I'm saying. That's scientific. It's the same thing with dyslexic brains. If we are struggling to take in information in the way the world sees as norm, we, I think, have genuinely programmed over time to become problem solvers because we don't have a choice but to look at things out of the box. Because that's how our brains work. We just are out of the box. And the number of dyslexics I've spoken to, so this is not just my child and me, who have expressed this, that actually problems don't scare them. It excites them. It's so true though. It excites me when there's a problem. I'm like, oh, I can see what we can do with that. And I often also say, gosh, I can already see the pieces of the puzzle coming together way before sometimes others can, whether it's my team members or my family members, in terms of resolving an issue. So going back to what you were saying, yes, I hate to use the typical words, superpowers and all of that, but it truly is. I think dyslexics are great problem solvers because of what I've just explained.
Having known you now for probably a couple of years, and we've had a lot of really amazing conversations during that time, and I'm just appreciating who you are and your every essence that you bring to every conversation. One of the things I know about you, that of course our listeners don't, is that, well, I don't know if you would describe yourself as bicultural, but you grew up in a different culture early on. First question that comes to my mind about this, and as it relates to curiosity, is do you feel that one culture fosters curiosity more than another? And the other is, do you think that being of two quite different cultures has fostered curiosity? I'm curious about both of those.
So being curious has helped me absorb all of the differences and everything from these cultures and experiences. And it's really enriched my life, enriched our lives in our home, right? So you're right. I actually did a talk in my children's school about this, about diversity. I was talking to them about how to make the most when you're in different places and absorb it. And don't worry about what your brain might be telling you about the negatives. Focus on all of the amazing positives that comes from it. So I'm not framing your exact question about one more helped you develop more than the other in terms of the curious mindset. I think I've always, for some reason, I remember having that feeling that I want to be authentic. And that need and drive to be authentic has really made me this curious person, because I question everything as a result of it. I question every ideology, every process, anything that's put in front of me. So for example, if somebody says red is a great color, my first reaction is, do you like red? Are you really, is that your color? Because I want to be authentic, right? So that's the answer about what culture helped me. Well, I think my mind helped me, but also the enriching part of it. So going back to what I was saying about the kids and what I explained, outside of just the fact being that my husband's English and I'm Indian and our beautiful kids are a mix of us, I also lived in different countries. So partly in India, then partly in Kuwait, and then in the UK right now. Everywhere I went, just my nature, I love food. So I learned how to cook all of the native dishes, and how amazing is that? So just to be able to really relish from scratch, local ingredients, local cuisines. But that also opened up doors to meeting people that I would otherwise not meet, and really understand how they live and how they work. And that has all, I have no doubt, really helped me shape myself into I would like to think I'm very open-minded and welcoming, and I embrace change quite well. And I think that kind of mentality and curiosity has helped me become that person. I find it honestly childlike happiness when we're about to do something where we've not done it before. I'm like a little child. My son even laughs sometimes at me because he's an old man in a young body. He's quite like prim and proper, and he finds his mum a bit embarrassing sometimes because I'm so
Don't they all?
childlike.
They all do. All of our kids
And
do.
and he always says, "Oh my God, Mom, you can get so excited." I'm like, "Yeah, you should too."
I
And
love that.
let go of those inhibitions, and really enjoy this moment for what it is. And yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question fully, but I think that's what curiosity has done. It's really helped me enrich my life.
And as you're describing that, you use the word open, and I wanted to just sort of pounce on that, because everything that I think you've talked about so far is about being open to experience, open to new ideas, open to something unexpected, and that openness is a key characteristic of curiosity. So they do go hand in hand. And I don't know if they're separate things or not. Is the experience
Yeah.
of being open different from curiosity? How are they nested? That's something that I'll do some more thinking about. But what I'm curious then, because you are human and we all have moments when we're not curious. Do you have any sense of what shuts curiosity down for you? Does it ever? I would imagine sometimes the curiosity is not quite as accessible.
Such a good question.
Because as human beings, we can't be curious in every moment of our lives, but because that's such a big part of who you are, what closes it down? What shuts it down?
The first thing that comes to my mind is the fact that I'm quite dogged and rebellious in nature. I'm also quite measured in my approach, meaning I will not retaliate for the sake of retaliating. I always sit back and think, hey, hang on. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling uncomfortable here? Why am I not my happy self? Just, being spontaneous. And that's a word my husband uses about me. He says, gosh, one of the things I love about you is how spontaneous you are. But it like appears spontaneous. It's done with caution. You know what I mean? It's not something I just do like without thinking, without realizing the pros and cons, if you like, of a given situation. So coming back to what you're saying, you're right. There are certain situations that will curb curiosity. And that is constantly presenting a blueprint for everything, constantly telling someone. So when I was younger and I really wanted to be a surgeon, honestly, I really wanted to be a surgeon, telling me that you're not brave and you're not intelligent enough,
Mm, yeah.
that could have really shut me down. I come from a culture where, especially 20, 25 years ago, this is not out of anybody's malice, more due to, I think, just what we know. We know what we know. It was a dumb thing for women, girls, young girls like me who were quite gifted and pretty and all of that to just get married off to
Mhm.
to men. But then, so if I didn't have that rebellious streak in me, when somebody said, "Oh no, you can't, you're not good enough to become a doctor," so the next best route was for this lovely young lady to get married off to the next rich man. No,
Mm.
that was the culture. But I didn't let that happen with my life. I dug my heel in. I said, I'm going to make something of myself. The fact is that kind of thing kept my curiosity alive. The
Mm.
rebelliousness and the dogged determination that no, you cannot define who I am and what I will be.
Mhm.
But also, I cannot undermine the support I had. Right, my dad was just brilliant at encouraging curiosity, as saying, "Come on, just go and do what you want to do." There was no definition to that. There was no definition. And I think that's it. Sometimes we need that, our surroundings, the people around us, and someone who says, "You're right, keep going."
You must be tapping into my mind because you keep answering the questions before I ask them. I was going to ask you, okay, so it sounds like you always make lemonade out of lemons. You just have this, as you said, sort of this dogged rebelliousness that says no. You say no, okay, I'll find another door or window to crawl through. What do you think shuts curiosity down in your kids or other people? But you already kind of actually addressed that. It's
Yeah.
by how you guide them.
It's the people around them. That point is so close to my heart. You know me, and most parents love their kids. We love them. We love them. We've had many discussions about my kids. One of the top priorities in my life is to protect their curiosity, meaning protect who they are and not let external influences dampen that spirit, right? 100%. And I have very open conversations with them about this, about how to be mindful of who you are and who you're becoming and not worry too much if you don't always fit. Because going back to the whole blueprint thing, Colleen, we are increasingly in our society, we have a blueprint to success for anything and everything. And there is no room for exploration almost because you're thinking, oh, but hang on, that person got there and this is the blueprint. I just need to do this if that's what I want to do. And you almost become a robot rather than an explorer. I'm always very conscious and I protect that fiercely. fiercely as a mother, to a point where, and I think we've had times where I've expressed how I protect it, but where, there was a time where my son was not ready to give a speech because of the way he is as a person. He needs time to explore his ideas, and he has a brilliant mind. Yesterday he composed a piece of music in 15 minutes, and then he came and played it to me. And, he's brilliant. As far as I'm alive, no one's going to kill that, right? So when he was asked to do this speech just overnight, that's not his style. I'm sorry. But I just don't think that should be anybody's. You should be given enough time to prepare and really explore your thoughts and put your ideas down if you're going to present your thoughts, right? In a speech. So it was simple. I just said to him, that's fine. It was tough because he had to give up an opportunity. But I said to him, you're not ready, so you're not doing it. And I let school know. These things are tough to do. But that taught him. And then he then did do a speech another time. He said to me, Mom, you're so right. I was not ready. He thought I was being a harsh mother, a disciplinarian, but I wasn't. I was trying to make way for his brain to do its thing and for him to be him.
What you just used as an example of the speech and not being given time made me go back to the point that you wanted me to return to, which is change management, because that is why change management can be so frightening for people, is suddenly there's a sharp left turn in an organization. So you were going to speak about curiosity and change management.
I think if you approach things with curiosity, then change management becomes less painful. What I mean by that, and I'm going to frame it in the context of what I do for a living. So I look after digital transformation, on some really large scale projects where there are many individuals trying to deliver projects to given timescales. However, the industry is going through this sea change of using better technology, doing things better, using data for our benefit, and so on and so forth. That means bringing in, it's like saying you're using a Nokia, but from tomorrow you're using the smartphone, right? Or going from, a not smartphone to a smartphone. Until I got to use the smartphone, I didn't realize how smart it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I didn't even know that I need to be curious about this. It's just another phone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I do when managing change on projects, I try and create that curiosity. I try and let people know this is actually good, you guys. It's a bit like swapping for a smarter phone. Look what you do now with your iPhone. You live your whole life on there. You plan your days, you do your banking, you communicate. Is there anything we don't do with it now? It's the same thing with any technology, And that's what I mean when I say curiosity can make the change less painful. Because you're not looking at this as, oh my God, 10 new workflows to deliver the same thing. This is pressure from work. No, you kind of take ownership then and think, oh, wow, these 10 new workflows are going to reduce my work time over time by this amount. Because most of digital technology does that. It helps us. And if we become curious about how does it help us, then we're going to be less resistant to that change.
Let me follow up with something, another question, because I do think that back to the question of, what tends to shut down curiosity, I think as human beings, it's often fear, right? Fear is going to constrict us and make us just want to know what we know and stay with what we know that feels safe. So are you saying that as you are helping an organization with change, that by simply saying what are the benefits, let's look at what the capabilities could be with this new opportunity, is that often enough to reduce the fear in people? Or are there other questions that you ask, or how do you reduce the fear? Because sometimes it seems like people are too afraid to entertain the benefits of a change, because you have a lot of experience with this. I'm really curious how you help people feel safer.
I acknowledge it.
Mm.
So it's the first thing, right? Just acknowledge it. So I always so when part of my job is always, there's something I love using, the storming, norming, and performing. the philosophy around that. And I always go in and say, hey guys, this is going to be painful. It's change.
Yeah.
We don't like change. That's fine. That's how we're built as human beings. We like safety nets. We like to know what things are predictable and we're all good. And, and we're all like that, mostly. And we unlearn that and we learn to be more open and curious and embrace change and all of that stuff, right? And that's where I go straight to what you just said, the fear. The reason change is difficult is because of the uncertainty. But if we, as change managers, as individuals introducing new process, technology, whatever else it might be, or in my case, even with my kids, because they are neurodiverse, they hate change. I introduce that in a way to build curiosity. Because I'm already framing that in a different way. I'm going to say, yep, it's better change. We're going to have to do things slightly differently, and then I will quickly tell them all of the benefits and look what you can do. And going back to the whole iPhone analogy, if I'm going to say to Carson, you're going to spend, which he did, by the way, 7 nights without me in a camp doing tennis. Oh my God, never done this before. It's like, but then if I explain, you're going to be playing tennis with XYZ, you're going to be doing this, doing that. Absolutely. That's what I love doing. And then overcoming that bit that, okay, I'm not going to be with mom and dad. That's easier.
So I don't think that you really are ever challenged with accessing your curiosity. I think, and I think this conversation has shown that. And one of the reasons I wanted to invite you to be on this podcast is because you are genuinely always a curious person. And I think that's come through in this conversation. I think as a wrap up, I would like to just explore a little bit, if you have a sense how curiosity shows up in the body, because you and I have talked a lot about interoception, right? We've talked a lot about the fact that the body actually pretty much directs the brain, not the other way around, and that the body's constantly sending information to the brain. So for people who are listening, watching, or reading the transcript, because curiosity comes so naturally to you, and because you do your breath work and you practice yoga, etc., you are very in tune with your body. Do you have a sense, and if you don't right now, that's fine, just say, I don't know right now, but I would encourage you or anybody listening or watching to notice when curiosity shows up, when it feels powerful, and to take a moment to ask, actually, how does my body tell me that I'm being curious? Do you have a sense of that, Megha?
I told you, I feel like a child. God, I feel like a child in a sweet shop. And that is what curiosity makes me feel like. I get the feeling of excitement, the butterflies in your stomach, feeling light like a feather, like you could just take off, like a rocket. It's that kind of feeling. But also, what helps me balance, right? Because when I was younger, I always was like this, right? But then I could not regulate that. And you and me know why as well. Again, the neurodiversity piece comes in. And what I've learned over the years, and that's why I think I've done pranayama, breathwork, and yoga since I was very young, is because it helps regulation. It just naturally helps regulation. It helps you stay grounded through it all. It's amazing to be curious, but it's also essential to live successful lives, to stay grounded, to understand, how far to sometimes explore these thoughts and dreams and etc.
I'm very, very happy that you said that you're holding both that excitement and light and this excitement in the body and the groundedness, because I don't want people to walk away from this conversation thinking, oh, curiosity means that I'm flying and that I'm my feet aren't grounded. No, there's both are true at the same time. It's almost a grounded excitement. So
Yeah,
that's
and
really
and
nice.
knowing that it's okay. Like, I remember my mum saying when I was younger, because I think she was worried that I would just simply go flying away, because I was such a curious little child. She always said, just calm down, don't get so excited. And I don't think that was a negative thing. That was her thinking, oh my God, she needs to be a bit more grounded in reality. She is so creative in her thought process that I think we have a fear of losing her in that, you know? I think in a way it's good, see, because I still remember it. So maybe it was a good thing that she always said to me that, hey, come on, calm down, stay grounded. Maybe it helped me. I don't know. But she's a professional yoga teacher. She's the one who taught me yoga. And we went and did a course on pranayama together. I think it's important to balance the two. And life throws challenges, you know, it does. And then it kind of goes that way. It's never constant. Like you said, I cannot emphasize enough breath work and taking a pause and making that a repeatable thing in your life. It's so simple. I teach my children every day and
I'm
really
so
being in
glad.
tune with your body. And Colleen, you talk immensely about this.
So thank you very much, Megha, for taking time out of your workday to do this. You're 5 hours ahead of me and in the whole mix of your day. So thank you. And I look forward to having another conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.